It's Sunday the 15th, 11 a.m. and I'm now in southwestern Tasmania in the Franklin Gordon Reserve or park. I forget the exact name of it. And I'm on top of a mountain in the area. Found a campsite that's for free just on one of the lakes here, Lake Peddy or Pedley, I think, just opposite Lake Gordon. Very big hydro dams here in Tasmania. They give about a third of the energy for the state, I believe. Just these two lakes alone. So I'll show you what it looks like. I'm currently standing on the top of one of these big rocks just here, and very nice views all around. So currently that's south, and we've got, I think it's Lake Peddy or Pedley. That's westwards. Then we've got just through there a bit of an abandoned like communications tower. It used to connect to this one, and that's northwards. And then the sun's up there somewhere, just there, and that's eastwards. So very nice views from up here. I'm currently trying to figure out what's going on with all of these rocks. They're kind of orientated in a north-south direction, as you can kind of see from those ones there and these ones. And then it's the same for those rocks down there. They've got the same orientation, as well as the hill or mountain I'm standing on. And then there's some mountains over that way in the distance. They're kind of in a southeast to northwest orientation, so they kind of curve that way. These ones go this way, along with that one down there and that one. Most of these ones are also kind of north-south orientated. The one I'm going on continues that way, and then those ones there also north-south. I think from the signs that I've read so far, traveling Tassie, in the supercontinent a billion years ago, there was a bit of a collision between the west part of Tasmania and the east, and then I think what's happened is that's kind of like buckled the earth and created all of these kind of north-south facing mountain ranges up the western coast, and that's exposed a lot of the rock layers underneath that have contained all of the minerals and things that have been so valuable for Tasmania's mining over the past 150 years or so. So I might just sit up here for a bit, eat some fruit, and then think about what I'll do next. Yeah. So this was the campsite that we've been at the Franklin Gordon Rivers National Park. I forget the name of this little beach area, but we've been here for 2 nights now. We're gonna leave now. It's been really nice, very scenic. There hasn't been that many people here this time of year. There's that mountain I walked up in the last video. You can see there's like a line of trees there. Took me a while to figure out what that was when I first got here. It's just a road. Why the trees love the road, I'm not entirely sure. Probably because the dirt's all kind of made a bit easier for them to kind of dig into, and maybe the water flows there just a bit more consistently than elsewhere. So we're going to head off now, go back down this. It's like a one road in, one road out. So we're going to stop at all the kind of walks on the way back, and anything under about 2 hours, we might do one, and then all the other walks, if they're less than an hour, we'll try and do them. So a few walks today, and then there's some showers at another kind of national park area where the Tasmanian wildlife managers, they've provided some showers and facilities there, so you just pay a few dollars to have a shower. We'll do that, and then we'll see where we end up later in the day. Heading towards Hobart now, but might stop some places on the way before we get there. We're in Tasmania's southwest now, the Hertz National Park, I think it was called. We're just doing a walk now to one of the lakes in the area. It's pretty cold at the moment, pretty windy. There's been a bit of rain today and yesterday, but it's a pretty cool track, this one. There's lots of the low mossy kind of plants in the open areas, and then now there's a bit of like a wet kind of like old rainforest that we're walking through. So they've got some drainage here. It's pretty well maintained actually. These steps were probably put in within the last couple of years. A few of the signs are a bit hard to read. It's very dark here. It's not that late, it's 6 p.m, but there should still be a lot of light around. It's just how dense the vegetation is. Takes away a lot of the light. But very cool walk. These plants are pretty interesting. They've been growing quite tall here. Don't often see them grow as tall as they are. There's some examples. Not sure what they're called. Looks like a standard tree trunk at the bottom. But you can see as it grows up, and it looks like there's some seeds in there actually as well. Might be flowering soon. There's some really nice white flowers around at the moment. Maybe these ones. Don't think it's those ones. That smell quite nice. Yeah, so that's what we've been doing. Today's the 18th of Feb. Not posting that often at the moment. Just been doing some standard driving around. Really nice areas to live, I think, on the drive here from Hobart. I quite like the style of living that was around the Lune River. Quite large properties. Looked like they shouldn't be too expensive. They probably are. But looked like a nice area to live, actually. You've got a big, nice river, nice farmland. It's got the beach not far away. These signs are a bit faded, so I can't even read that one just then anyway. And it looks like I might be getting to the lake here, so maybe I'll keep filming. It's opening up now, so you can hear a lot of wind probably. No lake yet, but a bit of a clearing here. Looks like where it's flat, it starts to get that lower plantation than where it is on the side of the hills. Gets a bit more shelter from the rain, I guess, and a bit more habitable for the trees. So here's the lake that I was walking to in the last video. Apparently it was carved out by a glacier that used to be here. Then as the climate warmed 20 to 10,000 years ago, the glacier, which was here and kind of banked up against that mountain there, they're saying it slid that way, kind of like down the mountain. And I don't really understand how it left this kind of this lake here. The lake must have already been here before the glacier. So the glacier evidence, it's a bit lacking on some of the signs, although there was an older sign further back along the walk that did give a reasonable explanation to why they think glaciers used to be in this area, and it was because all the rocks were tilted to one side, or shaped in a particular way to one side, which suggested that a large mass had been on it and rolled across the top of it, with the underside being jagged and kind of cut off as the larger kind of mass moved across it. So that's the first time anyone's tried to explain why they think there's glaciers. As a reasonable explanation, I'm finding a lot of the older signs that are written on these walks, I find them much more informative and evidence-based than a lot of the newer signs that the Tasmanian Parks and Wildlife are writing on a lot of these walks. Maybe it's become a bit too political now, a lot of these new signs that they're making and their department. But yeah, very educational, lots of the older signs. The newer signs, not so much in my opinion. So this sign's quite good at explaining why they think that glaciers used to be here. So basically they thought that there was a big glacier right here in the past. I'll show you where I'm in a moment. And then as the earth heated up, the glacier started to melt and slide downhill. And then as it did that, all the rocks and things which were under the glacier basically got dragged along with it, and they kind of got broken off. And we have a mountain that's kind of left with a sharper face today, and bits that have broken off. So if we look at these, so this is the area that we're in. They thought that the glacier was backed against that mountain just there, and then that these kind of rock pieces scattered in here. The theory is that these are trapped under the glacier and they've slid down with it. One of the reasons they think that is they've all got this tilt to my left, where it's kind of smoother on that side, and then the underside of it, it's kind of jagged. Alright, and that's the case for this one here, and you can't really tell from this angle, but that's the case for this one here and that one there. My only objections to that is, how do we know these aren't just rocks that are already just poking up from under the earth? These could just be the kind of tougher rocks that erode less quickly than the rest, and these are just what remain. And also, if you go further down there, it looks like there's a rock that doesn't really obey their rule, where it kind of looks the same on both sides and not as though it has a smoother right side to left side. So they do need some extra explanations if they want to convince people. I'm still not convinced by these explanations yet. I think there's many other alternatives for why these rocks are here than just saying that there used to be a giant glacier here and that glacier slid downhill and left behind these particular rocks. However, I haven't studied geology, so I don't have many other good alternatives to suggest. But I've got one other idea, assuming that that's north. Actually, I think that's south, because the sun's over there at the moment. So that's south. That would be north, I'm guessing. Maybe the north-south kind of orientation has played some role in why the south side is more worn out than the north side. I don't know, there's other processes at play here. We've got abiotic and biotic factors kind of mixing together in quite extreme environments, and yeah, there's many things that I think could have shaped these rocks to be the way that they are. The glacier is probably the most likely explanation, but they need a bit more information that is evidence-based on their signage to be a bit more convincing, in my opinion. So just going to walk back to the car park now, and then there's a campsite about a 30-minute drive back down through this mountainous dirt road. I'm sure there's probably some other campers there by now, but we'll see if there's any space remaining. Otherwise we'll have to find somewhere else for the night. At the Lune River Fossicking area now. It's the 20th of Feb, Friday. Came here yesterday. I had a walk up. I'll show you where I am. So there's kind of like a free camp spot just here. On the map for the state government's Fossicking website, they kind of have like this area around here that I'm on, marked as like anywhere you can do your fossiling, so just digging up the ground. And came here, well, came yesterday, and I had a walk up this old track, very overgrown. I dug a few holes, didn't see anything of significance, so I came back here, And then I realized all of these holes must be from people fossicking in the past. And then scattered across all the surface, you've got all of these kind of different coloured stones. So maybe I can find some just here. So we've got like a red kind of coloured stone just here. It's like a white pearl kind of colour. There's like an orange kind of coloured stone. So all scattered throughout here, we've got the material that I guess we're digging for. So I had a bit of a dig down there yesterday, didn't find anything. And then I came up here and I thought, why not just dig on the side of what someone else has already started? So I've kind of dug this area here. I just scraped it yesterday and I've come back today because I realized one of the, what I thought was a rock, I've actually found a fossil of a fern. I forget the word, petrified. It's a petrified fossil where the minerals have absorbed into the structure of the plant or animal, so in this case a plant. And I thought it looked, everything's, often fossils are usually ferns, so I thought this might be the, like the stem of a fern, especially because I don't see like the kind of centralized zones that most trees and of a, what do you call it, vascular, it's not quite the right word, but the larger trees or the more evolved trees, they tend to just have like a kind of central zone, whereas I figured a fern might have these kind of properties where you've got these different kind of structures going through it. So from what I've figured out, this site is probably the bottom. It's a little bit thicker in structure, and that's like the outside edge, and then it's broken off. So now we're looking at like the top, and there obviously would have been a bit larger going to where my thumb was just making it. So anyway, I found this yesterday just by scraping the edge of one of these holes that's dug here. So I've come back and I've had a bit more of a dig. Basically the way it works, there's just like a layer through here about 10 centimeters thick that just runs up like that. And I don't really have the right tools for it, but kind of just using this little crowbar I have here, I'm just kind of scraping along that edge. The back of the hammers, the claw of the hammers worked okay. And sometimes if I just want to speed it up a bit, just smashing it with the small sledgehammer has worked okay. Although I think this damages any of the larger stones before I really realized that I've found a big one. So this is one of the bigger things I found. Everything else I found seems to be rock, although I'm wondering if some of the other kind of pieces like this that I've found, they do kind of look like they'd be a part of a tree trunk. They're only like this big. I can't really make any more deductions, but they to me look like they could be the outside structure of like a vascular tree. That's the word. I wanted a vascular plant. So anyway, it's very cool. This is the first fossil I've ever found. If I can get my camera to refocus. It's hard to press it. There we go. This is the first fossil I've ever found. I'm quite happy with it. I'll hold on to this. I'd like to find one more before I go. I'll probably stick around here for another hour, trying to just see if in this zone just here, if I can find one more of these or something similar. That would be very cool. But yeah, very nice to find a fossil in the ground that no one's ever seen before. And I'd like to learn a bit more about this in terms of how long ago it was deposited there and kind of why this area has so many stones. It's got really lots of different colored stones, red, yellow, the creamy colored, orange, just lots of different stones here. I've got one that Parola's cleaning at the moment that kind of looks like it's got like crystals in it. Not sure what that is either, but that looks pretty cool. So yeah, really good area to come and to have a look and just to see if you can find a fossil like this. I went to the nearby Fossicking area yesterday as well, called the Coal Hill Fossicking area. Went to one of the spots that the authorities marked as being an area that you can fossick, but you couldn't actually get to it. There was a bit of an old road that kind of led to it for 100 meters, and then it kind of just got fully overgrown with swordgrass, and I went through it a little bit, got cut up on the legs, and just kind of turned back around. Had a look on Google Maps with the satellite imaging when I got back to some reception, and kind of just next to that track, it looks like through the trees there's a bit of a path that goes towards the spot that they've marked on their Fossicking map, but that still looks like it'd be quite difficult to get to, given the track that I walked along was quite overgrown and it was still much more cleared on the satellite imaging than the track that was kind of 10 meters adjacent to it. So I'm just going to finish up Fossicking here. Seems to be a good area. If yesterday, just by scraping the side of the dirt, I could find this, I'm surprised today I haven't found another one. Been going at it for maybe 90 minutes or 2 hours now. I haven't found another one like this yet, but hoping in that little area just there I can get one more similar to this. I'll show you the area once more. So you can see it's quite a popular spot for the Fossicking. Lots of kind of just holes dug around this tree. They've really had a go at getting under and around this tree. I tried to figure out why they chose this area. Still not quite sure like what you look for on the surface, because when I had a walk up that hill yesterday, I kind of just chose some areas where I saw rocks, but there wasn't really anything of significance. But here, you know, scattered all across the surface now, you've got all kind of the gems that you can see. But at some stage they would have been beneath the surface. So how someone knew to start digging here, I don't know. But anyway, they have, and I just copied them, and I've come across this fossil just here just by scraping the side of one of the holes. And if I were to come again yesterday and start over, I would have just straight away maybe chosen this spot just here and just kind of gone along and just widened the holes that have already been started, because it's very difficult to dig in this this kind of dirt. You need to come with maybe like a large crowbar to break the surface, and then some kind of like a pickaxe to kind of scrape away the dirt and to look through it with your eyes a bit closer to the material. So they are the tools that you should have, I think. Big crowbar made for kind of splitting the dirt, and then like a pickaxe to kind of drag it away and sort through the material. That would be ideal. The tools I have make it a bit harder, but I do see things up close, and maybe this would have been missed by someone else because they were using larger tools. It's Tuesday the 24th, and it's been a while since the last video. Most places haven't been that great for filming. We kind of went through Hobart and then southeastern Tasmania, and we've seen a few things. Went to a national park, but I just didn't get out the phone to film much of it. Like, I probably could have, but I haven't. Anyway, now we're in northeastern Tasmania. A place called Halls Falls used to be a mining place. Apparently Chinese tin miners kind of had this place operational. They had a sawmill here, and yeah, mining for tin back in the 1890s. This is where I am now. I'm kind of I walked across this log here, just have a look here. I'm guessing in the past maybe all this material here has been kind of sorted through for the tin. They've built this kind of artificial wall here, made of concrete with steel going through it. So they did indeed have concrete back in 1890s and steel to reinforce it. And then yeah, the water's flowing over there now, and it's just going down through this region here. Those look kind of square shaped, so maybe they've cut them out down the way, I'm not really sure. But a nice little walk to get here. Today we're kind of traveling through like a forest, which is like a state, a forestry managed kind of area. To me, they're kind of the best areas to travel through. You kind of get the greatest sense of freedom. You don't feel like you're being monitored too much and overlooked, whereas in the national parks and things, they feel like they're quite restricted in terms of what you can do and see in things. So I quite like it here. Looks nice. Apparently there's some big trees that have been cut down in this forest somewhere that you can still see, like the stumps of them. We'll see. Haven't seen any on the way up, but I wasn't really looking. Have a look for that now. Then when we get back to the main road, we'll just continue following that north. And then there's also 2 Fossicking areas that I want to go, that on the state government's website we can go. I forget the name of them right now, but I've got them marked on my Google Maps. I've pinned them. They're not too far from here, so I'll have a bit of a fossick there, see if I can find some new rocks I haven't seen yet. But yeah, I might try and make one more video for this Tassie trip. And it'll probably be in northeastern Tassie most of the rest of it. Just seems like the place where there's a bit more to do. All of the southeastern side was mostly just private property, and there wasn't really, in my opinion, that much to see unless you paid like tour groups and things, which we didn't really want to do. We're doing a bit of a cheaper trip of traveling Tassie. So yeah, that's what's happened so far. We've done a few hikes, fair bit of driving, but mostly through areas where I didn't think it was really that interesting to be filming. However, now we're getting back into the wilder areas where they're not as touristy as well, from what I can gather from this site at least, and hopefully other northeastern areas. It was very touristy, kind of the last few places we were going, and not that great for filming, I don't think. Not far now from Halls Falls, at what's called the Anchor Stamper. Used to be like a mine here where all the ore was sent to around this location I'm at now, and they kind of navigated a lot of the water to come past this machinery, and they used to have a big water wheel, I presume, just here. Apparently it was 20 meters in diameter, the original one. I don't think this is the original. This was installed in the 1930s or so. But back in like the 1880s or 90s, they installed one that's like 20 meters in diameter, so probably like a water wheel nearly the height of that tree just there. And that would spin and then cause these stampers to go up. And then I think once they reached a certain height, the mechanism would basically just allow gravity to let them fall back down. And when the ore got small enough, apparently it would just, like, the powder would kind of come out through probably this little gap just here, and then underneath where I'm standing they would collect it and then like run water over it, and all the waste kind of products that they didn't want would get washed away, and they'd collect the tin from the ore that they'd crushed. And they also had like a mercury pit which they would use to help collect the gold that was contained within some of the ore as well. So a little bit complicated to understand, but basically you see here a big stamper. Not the original one. This apparently has 20, so 2 sets of 5 of these stampers, which are just big heavy weights that get picked up as these what used to be like water wheels, as they spun, have picked up these stampers, probably one by one, as these, you can actually see how it would have worked. So as this cylinder here turns, that basically lifted up, let's call it a bar just here, or the stamper, and then once it got to a certain height, you can see that the wheel would have just lifted off, like turned away from that position just there, and then this would have fallen back down with quite a force depending on whatever it weighed, and crushed whatever rock was underneath it. I'm not exactly sure how they put the rocks in here. From the looks of it, just here, maybe there was some old like kind of sheet, thick kind of sheet of metal just here, and maybe they loaded this by putting the ore in here, and it would kind of then fall in, and then as these picked up, it would kind of just feed itself. Yeah, so I'm not sure how they actually fed this. Maybe there used to be something along here, some kind of like a tray that would pass the rocks down here, and they'd fall in there, get crushed, and come back out. Anyway, now it's left to decay. There's also something just down there. Can't see what it is, but I can see it's some kind of structure. It's fallen down. Actually, there's other kind of relics down here too. So there's a bit to look at here. Also above where we are, the track went that way, so we'll have a look up there and see what we can find. But cool stuff to find out in the forests. So I'm now below where I was standing just a moment ago. You can see the original kind of level was just where all these stones flatten out. You've got some old machinery just here rusting away. We've got this big old I don't know, I'm just going to say cylinder or wheel. Obviously it used to spin. Maybe that was like one of the original water wheels, if it had other things like wooden structures that extended outwards from that circle there. Even where I'm going to put my foot here, that's actually like a metal structure right now. that whole thing just there, that's some old structure that's now fully covered in moss. So yeah, here's this cylinder thing. Looks like a few animals use this as a bit of a path. Let's have a quick look. See what's here. It's a newish kind of hose that they've put in just there. Here's where the water used to flow after it went down through those stampers. And I'll just go the other way to see what it looks like the other way. There's actually like a big kind of cylinder thing here. And you can see it's got like a gear system underneath it. So this used to do some kind of rotating. Made, I think it says Adelaide, forward, down, something, PA tent. So some type of pattern. Maybe this was that mercury spinning wheel that kind of absorbed the gold, because I think mercury helps to absorb alluvial gold. Not sure if there's anything else of interest. Just here, it's nice looking ferns. So you can see that the forest recovers quite well at the end of a lot of these mining activities. A little bit of a waterfall just here. Have a little walk there and turn back around. So it doesn't look like there's any new structures here. Water looks quite clean. Nice little waterfall. Yeah, nature's kind of reclaimed this area a lot. Not a lot of structures down here from what I can see. It is quite flat just here, I do notice that. Not sure if this used to be a part of the mining site. It probably was. Maybe I'd find some some other relics out that way if I went and had a walk through all those ferns. Don't really want to though. So I'm just going to walk back up the hill to the platform. From the car park, I've just walked down this road. It looked like I couldn't really drive down it. Just wanted to see what there was, because there was a bit of a clearing. I haven't actually looked at that yet. I just kept following the road. And I think I've come to where used to be one of the open cut mines at this this place that I'm at. I forget the name of it right now. So you can see just here we've got concrete kind of like flooring put in. There's a conduit pipe just here, so they had electricity. What else? We've got some big kind of concrete structures there and there. And we've got, like, you know, I'm sitting in what used to be a part of the hill here, where I think they've mined it, going in that direction. You can see an old rusted bucket there. So what happened was this mine had lots of different leases, about 9 different leases over its kind of 130-year span. And the most recent was in the 1990s for about 3 years. Some company had a go at trying to get some tin from here. Looks like they might have had a go just here, and, you know, again, it wasn't profitable, so they've kind of just shut up shop and left. So this is just yeah, up along a dirt road, probably 300 meters from my vehicle. I'm just gonna have a walk around and see what I can see. So there's a bit of like debris and rubble and stuff here. I don't think that's concrete. Might just be kind of like waste rocks or something. So we go along here again. All of this, I think this has all been cleared, digging for the tin. The road does go that way, it's an abandoned road, but I'm not going to walk along there because there's something else down here I want to have a look at. I haven't looked at it just yet. Try and figure out what it is. So that's the way I've just walked to get here. My vehicle's just 200 meters that way, but we've got this big area just here that I kind of saw through the trees from my car, and that's why I walked here in the first place. So I'm just going to see if we can figure out what it is. This looks like concrete just here, this slab. It is. Not sure what this was. So I've got some rubble just here, some structures buried. Looks like a car suspension there. Looks like water's kind of cut a path through here now. Maybe there used to be a pipe under here in the past. I've got this big clearing of what looks like sand. So I'm not sure if this has been brought here, or if this is an extract of the mining. Maybe this is like an extract of the modern mining. They've grinded down all the stones to this, and they've kept the tin, and this is all the waste. Maybe it's got a bit of a sparkle to it. Not sure if you'll see that through the camera, but yeah, big clearing here. The trees can't penetrate through it, which kind of shows how thick it is, a couple of meters thick. Old creek here. That where I was before, those stampers, they actually dug out about 30 kilometers of kind of like aqueducts to direct the water to it in like the 1920s or 30s, to try and give a bit more power to the water wheels. So there's a lot of like aqueduct channels that have been dug out through here. Now my vehicle's just up there somewhere. I'm hoping actually maybe I'll be able to just walk up through the bushes there to get to it. I think it's actually just where that electricity pole is. So let's keep having a walk around, see what we can see. There's a bit of a metal structure just through there in the bush. I won't go have a look at it now, but some kind of a box or something for storage. Looks like a nice area for camping now. If you got some friends, you could come here and just set up on one of these big clearings. Have a nice night, lots of privacy, because no one actually came to this this walk. The Halls Falls had a lot of people, well, a good amount of tourists, but no one's actually come to this one, which was just a bit further up the road. So I've got this big clearing just here. Not natural, there's no way this is a natural clearing. And why would someone bring all this sand here? It's not because they wanted to make a big sand pit. All right, this must just all be kind of waste products from the mining process, crushed down to a pulp, and the good stuff was extracted and the waste products were left behind. Maybe the old buildings were located here too, just as a hunch. It's a bit of a weird smell just here. Not sure what that is. Smells like medicine. Very strange smell. It smells like band-aids. Why do I smell band-aids? I'm worried that I'm bleeding now or something because of this smell, but I'm not sure. A little bit strange. It smells like the when you open a new band-aid and it's got that kind of antiseptic kind of smell to it. Just had a strong whiff of that just over there, and I do again now, actually. Very strange. Maybe it's one of the plants here produces a similar kind of smell. Whether the band-aids try and mimic that smell, or there's a molecule in one of these plants that is actually used in band-aids. Not sure. Alright, so yeah, a bit interesting this. Big clearing. Big clearing. What's this here? Yeah, it just looks like waste that's been dumped here after all the mining. Kind of interesting, that smell is still hanging around. Must be one of these plants, like a fragrance in the air. It smells like the band-aid smell. Very strange it is. It's Wednesday the 25th of Feb, 2 o'clock. I'm now at the Weld River Fossicking area, or hopefully about 50 meters from one of the spots that's marked on the map. So I'm standing on some logs over the river right now, in a town. I think it's called Marina. Used to be quite important place back when tin mining was booming in the late 1890s, early 1900s. What else is there to say? I rode here from Bronxholm, I think it was called. There's a nice kind of free place you can stay there. About a 20k ride, went along some dirt roads and things, so got to see some country scenery. And yeah, I've read the website. There's supposed to be some interesting kind of minerals that you can find here. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to look. So this is the Weld River at the moment. I'm just standing on some logs here. I've come from that way. It's quite interesting actually. All the rocks along this river, they're all kind of, for this section anyway, aimed at the same kind of direction that the river's heading in. So it all kind of looks like that walking up here. I didn't have to get my feet wet, which was nice, but most of the time you would, unless you went along the bank. The spot where the government's marked you can do the Fossicking is, I think, just around this corner, maybe about 50 meters. So I'll go there. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to kind of dig into the rocks like these ones that have fallen here, or if it's actually just in the kind of the sand and the rocks that's already been kind of worn away by the flow of the water. I think that's actually what you're supposed to do, is just look through the sand and you'll find some pieces up to a couple centimeters in diameter, if you're lucky, of some blue, purple, red, whatever color kind of gems there are. They might be around here. So hopefully I find some that look interesting, and then I've got about a 20k bike ride back to the campsite later. So I might only hang out here for about an hour, see what I can find, and then head back. So it's been about an hour at the Fossicking area. Didn't really find much. There was a guy here with his kids having a bit of fossick. They had like the kind of the mining, the alluvial filtering kind of sieve things. Forget what they're called actually. I just walked around and kind of just brushed off the rocks and looked in places where that was kind of like under the grooves of rocks and things. Didn't really know what to be looking for, to be honest. I found kind of like an orangey, creamy coloured one. That was probably the most interesting thing I found. Maybe I'll change the camera. So that's the most interesting one I found. Not sure if that actually is anything that I was supposed to be looking for here, or if that's just quartz with a bit of an orange tinge. Most of these black ones were really small, so I was wondering if by finding a bigger one, that was something. Give it a clean, maybe it's quite a rich black color, a lot of the smaller stones look, so maybe this is a bigger one of that. I mean, this one's not really that interesting, just looks like a rock really, but that's one of the more interesting looking rocks that I've seen. And then there's one, if I can rotate it to see it. There's one that's kind of orange, like a dark red color, a bit dirty. Maybe if I clean that it might look a bit richer. And that's really all I found that was kind of interesting. Everything else here is just like small millimeter or 2mm sizes, and anything that's bigger than that tends to just look like the large rocks that we've got here, but smaller. So here's a good spot anyway to see where this creek kind of runs along the same way that I guess the rocks in the mountain do, being that they run in this direction. Everything's orientated that way, and the rocks, like the natural grooves of them, run the same way as the river at this section. Obviously that's not true for all sections when the river turns later on, but just for this section it's quite cool, and I'm able to navigate this without getting my feet wet, although when I went upstream before, these kind of end and then I had to get my feet a bit wet to keep moving upstream. So that's it for here. Not really as interesting as the Lune River. I forget the name of this river at this moment, but the Lune River I thought was a bit easier to find rocks that were quite unique, and I got the fossil. Actually cleaned all those rocks up last night, and I think I've got a couple of the what do you call it, petrified fossils from like tree trunks and a couple of ferns after I clean them up. The one that I've put on a previous video was the best one, but there's others that look like they're kind of midway through the petrification process, if that's the right word. I think it's petrified. So anyway, that creamy coloured one, that's the best thing I found. Maybe that's something, maybe it's not. I'm going to ride back to the campsite now, do some exercise, just chill out for the rest of the day. I'm in Branksholm now. Just got back not long ago from the bike ride to the Fossicking area, and just going for a walk along a water race that was constructed here in January. Well, started in January 1901 or 1900 and was finished like a year and a half later. I'll just show you what it looks like. So there's this path just here, and in a year and a half they dug this race out. So I think I'll just call it a water race because that's what makes more sense to me. They dug all of that out. Apparently it was nearly or just over 40 kilometers in length, which they did in a year and a half, about 300 workers. So I think I calculated each worker did about 150 meters each, if they were all, you know, contributing to digging this hole. Each worker did about 150 meters in length of digging this out in just a bit over a year. Anyway, so the 40Ks, what it was doing was helping transport water to a mine in a town called Derby, which apparently was the biggest tin mine in the area. So it's quite a project. The sign just at the start of this walk, just called the race walk, I believe. The sign said just to look out for the signs of how like kind of feverish they were in that era and how confident they were about the mine in Derby, that they constructed such a project as this, and apparently it was one of the most ambitious, or if not the most ambitious, in Australia at the time. So what have we got here? You can see they've laid all of these stones here. This is obviously new. The water used to go through here somehow, and it looks like it kept going down that way. Oh, there's a sign just there for me to read. Let's go have a read of it, see what happened in this area just here. we've got some old structures down there, so they probably had to do something special to navigate the water around this bend. Yeah, you can see there's some kind of an old structure just there. So an engineering challenge. At a cost of £60,000 to construct, the project demonstrated the faith that the Brice's tin mine management and shareholders had in the future of the mine. The race was touted at the time as the largest project of its kind ever undertaken in Australia. Designed and built to carry a minimum of 100 sluice heads of water per hour, or 24 million gallons daily, and harness water from sources behind Ringa River, transporting it 48 kilometres was its total length. Had a gradient of exactly 4 feet per mile to provide the water powering hydraulic pressure to assist the large-scale mining for the Brice's tin mine. 3 work crews with approximately 100 men per crew worked on separate race construction sections simultaneously. So quite good that the architects could, set 3 crews up simultaneously and get them to construct the race so that they each exactly met and maintained that gradient of 4 feet per mile. That's pretty cool. And it travelled through forest and rocky terrain with 4 great siphons or pipes constructed to transport the water over rivers and across gullies. The first release of water at Ringa River took 3 weeks to reach the mine at Derby. Okay. 100 years on, a section of the race is still used to transport water to the Branksholm Community's reservoir. So we can see a section here of the construction. I think this is the ones that they said transported it over the river. They had to build like a bridge to transport the water over the river. Maybe this was one of those kind of bits just here to go around the mountain. Maybe it was easier to construct some kind of a structure like this that bent around this bend here. You can see there's a bit of a picket sticking into that rock there, so maybe that was a bit of the support. And then the old wood here used to bend around here, and it looks like it joins back in just through there, which is where I'm going to walk now. So pretty cool stuff. A lot of work went into these old mines. Lots of investment for the bigger mines, and I guess it paid off when you look at the prosperity of Australia today. It's now Thursday the 26th, 11:40 a.m. and I'm at the Gladstone Hill Fossicking area, or one of the mine sites that was marked on the Tasmanian government's mineral website. I can't actually find this mine. I feel like I'm standing in what might have used to have been the clearing, if it's at least 100 years old. I'll explain why. So the road I've walked in on is just like running across here 10 meters that way, and all the vegetation here is much more open than what it's been on my walk down the hill from that way. There's a gate up there that I couldn't drive past. At the top of a hill there's like a radio tower, so I've had to walk down the road about 1.5 km to get to where I am, which is where the first mine site is marked. And it's all kind of like eucalypt trees and vegetation, like what I just zoomed in on up there. Most of the walk down, and about 50 meters back that way, it's kind of opened up a bit to what you can see here. So the vegetation changed where the mine site was marked, and then in the ground as well, where there's kind of like trees coming up or animals that have dug little holes, you can see all of these little, I'll just call them pebbles, from like the new growth areas. And I've never really noticed that before anywhere I've walked through the bush, but here there's kind of these little white pebble spots just everywhere where like animals have been digging and things. So just there's some. Just here you can see it's kind of spread out across the surface. So I'm wondering if that's like a sign. So here there's some kind of an animal's had a dig, and you can see it's dug up these little white stones. So maybe that's just the natural kind of surface layer, but I feel like that's the result of where they've kind of dumped all the mine waste. So just there again. So I could be where the mine site used to be, but I don't really see where I'm supposed to dig or look for any of the rocks and things that are of interest. So I might just keep walking down the hill to where they've marked the next spot, and hopefully it's a bit more obvious. It's kind of next to a creek, the next spot. So hopefully it's a bit more obvious than this. I don't really see what I'm supposed to be doing here. Again, here you can see just these white kind of stones spread out where animals have had a dig. But I had a little dig somewhere, and just once you get below all the pebbles, it's just like normal dirt. So I don't really know what to think. Yeah, so not a successful first attempt at finding these mine sites. I'll try the next one and hopefully a bit more success. Supposed to find like smoky quartz and I don't know, some kind of like clear quartz here, as well as jasper and something else. I don't even know what they look like. I'm just hoping I see some rocks that look different than the typical rocks I've seen throughout my life, and I guess they're kind of the special rocks to be looking for. So I have found the mine now. On their map, they say you have to go over McCaw Creek or something to find this old mine. But on Google Maps, they call it Mount Cameron Creek. So it's a little bit confusing to find this place. On the walk back to the car, I think where they say the mine workings are, they might actually be quite maybe 100 meters or so in from the bush, in from the road into the bush. So on the walk back, I'll have a look, see if I can find the mine workings, whatever that is. I think it's just all the rubble that they didn't get anything valuable from. But I'm at now one of the mine sites. So basically I walked down this road just here. They don't have names, these roads, so I can't help you out there. But anyway, just on the right side of it, coming down, you just see this big hole here. And obviously this isn't natural, in my opinion. This has been dug out. It's been quite some time since anyone's been here, given the size of some of these trees. And you can imagine they wouldn't have started growing straight away. They would have needed some kind of dirt and viable soil for them to get some growth going. But anyway, that's happened. Not sure what I'll do. I'll spend an hour here. Maybe I'll just sort through that loose stuff over there, and then if I have some effort, I'll see if I can break open some of the rocks just there. That'll be my plan, see if I see anything of interest, and then I'll walk back to the van and I'll try again to find the mine workings. This is one of the mines, I hope. It's obviously been cut out. Looking at the incline of that edge just there, that's not a natural feature in most places. So I'll have a look, see what I can find here. Hopefully something of interest. So it's 12:50 now. I think I've been at this Gladstone mine for about an hour now. Where I said I was going to have a look before I did, I just kind of like scraped the surface, dug down a bit. Didn't see anything more than maybe 2 millimeters in diameter. Mostly just the white kind of pebbles. So what I did, I kind of just dug around in some random locations, didn't really see much. Watch out for the jumping jacks, because there's lots of jumping jack ants nests around the area. Anyway, what I did was I kind of walked downhill a bit, just seeing if there was like another kind of how far the mine went anyway. And there was like a new water flow, like kind of just the start of a new creek, if you want to call it that. And I thought, well, maybe some of the bigger stuff's washed down that. So I followed this little creek trail down maybe 20 or 30 meters. And then I just saw like a bit of a hole. So I thought, well, maybe it's kind of like buried under the surface. So I dug in there a bit and didn't find anything in the initial layer. But what's happened is I've dug down maybe 40 centimeters and I've come across this layer of like a white clay. I'll show you what it looks like now. So I've just walked down this kind of creek thing here, that where I was standing before was maybe 30 meters that way. I've just followed this down, just thinking I might see something. as it goes down. Anyway, I kind of just stopped here and thought I'll have a dig here, see if there's anything under the surface. Nothing immediately, just kind of loose dirt. But I got down to like this kind of clay layer, and I've really exposed it now. I'm gonna dig up this after this video. Anyway, so there's this clay kind of layer here, and all through that are like rocks, and I think they're actually the smoky quartz, a lot of them, that it says on the Fossicking website that you can find. So just here, I know it's covered in clay, so it's a bit difficult to see. How close can I get it before it doesn't focus? Too close. Alright, there we go. So I think all spread out through this clay is the smoky quartz. So what I think has happened is when this mine was operational and it rained, or just maybe the years after it immediately closed down, all the wash kind of just came downhill, down this creek, and it's layered down here. There's a bit of a layer just here that you can see in the, just under the surface, maybe 20 centimeters under the surface at this particular location. And all through that clay layer, I'm actually going to call it sludge, because I think this is kind of like the sludge that's gone downhill. It's carried all the rocks from back when the mine was kind of active or first closed, and now it's formed through this layer going down this hill. So I'm just going to dig up this probably 1/2 meter, well 1 meter by a 30 centimeter section just here. Haven't found anything particularly interesting just yet. I'm not sure how big these smoky quartz get. This is probably the biggest one I think I've found. It's kind of covered in dirt now, and it's not pure. I can see a bit of white underneath it, but that's the biggest one I've found yet. Hopefully I'll find something bigger. I found like a harder layer just here, and this kind of breaks apart if I squeeze it reasonably hard. Alright, so it's not really well formed, but it does have spread throughout it all these black kind of rocks. I'm just going to call them rocks, black rocks, pretty shiny, and probably those smoky ones too. So I'll give that a bit of a clean up. I think that's a pretty interesting find. It's probably the best thing I found as yet. It was a bit bigger. This is the other half of it. I broke it in half, but that's probably the most interesting thing I found yet. I'm hoping just in this section here I'll find maybe a larger one of those smoky quartz. So there's one just here. Oh, that's not one actually. Half of it's one. But yeah, this is more or less the best thing I found in this area. So just a quick summary. What I've done is I've just got these basic tools here. Where I was standing before was maybe 30 meters that way, and I've just gone downhill and followed this kind of waterway that's forming, thinking that there might be some, like a pile of larger rocks here somewhere. Didn't find that, but I have dug down and come across this slurry kind of layer that's carrying lots and lots of interesting looking rocks. So this is the best thing I found in this area. Up there I didn't see anything of interest to me anyway.